All right, guys. Like we stated earlier, we got a little bit of a special segment this week. We, of course, do have our folks attack, but we have, of course, our overlord here from Mash Those Buttons to grace us with his presence, because he heard the news and he was like, you know what? Put me on, coach. Put me in. Wants to get on. He's been here before, especially longtime listeners have definitely heard his voice at some point. Actually, if you listen to this podcast at all, you probably heard his voice in the very beginning when he soothes you in. But we've got Ja, aka Josh Stradamus, in the building. Welcome back to the frame, my friend.
Well, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be here, even though the only times I really show up is when the industry is being a dickhead.
Yeah, so. I mean, listen. You know what? Sometimes we just need those guards ready in place to let the people know, to put on their soapbox. So, like you said, the industry is definitely being a dick to us in fighting games. For more specifically, a certain game that has come out today, with an update on the 27th of March. And is making some waves, and unfortunately, it's not the kind of right waves you want to be riding, especially in the game that's in that predicament. Well, of course, we're talking about Multiversus. So we've covered that game. You know, we're no strangers to it. I put myself, it says I have about 100 hours. I know I got more than that in the game. I played it a lot from early. I think it was like the first open beta. It might have even been the closed beta before they actually opened it up. Keywords there being open beta, and we'll go into that. But they came out today. Player First dropped a huge update on the current state of the game, which is currently at season 2, and everyone's been wondering for a while, like, hey, what's up with season 3? What's coming down the pipeline? They dropped the nuke, pretty big nuke. If I want to be specific. Talking about the current situation of the game and their plans on closing the open beta on June 25th. This was also accompanied on Twitter, on the actual Multiversus Twitter, where we had Tony, the game's director, co-founder of Player First Games, just basically laid it all out in 2 minutes as to, as corporate-y as it sounds, it was the, hey, thanks, we got shit to fix, so we're gonna turn things off, which turned a lot of people off for many reasons. So what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on just the situation?
Is it my turn?
Yeah, it's your turn to let loose. I wanted to kind of just lay the ground to, for our listeners to just understand, like, yes, the game has always been free. There was a beta to it. There's early access. There's a difference in the wording here, and you can, if you're not following as to why people are mad, I'm just gonna let Ja take the floor and just kind of break it down for you.
There was also purchases. Purchases. We forgot to mention that.
Money and time that was been put in, for sure.
As you were speaking, like I kind of got a little frustrated. I didn't even realize they were on season 2. Right? That means you had a season 1, you're in season 2. That is not something you do in beta, because that's the word that they're throwing around a lot, right? Mm-hmm. They're throwing around open beta. So we're going to close the beta down, change some things, and then we're going to bring it back just like normal, right? Because that is a normal thing to do in beta. But this is not a beta. I don't care how they word it, how they name it. You do not sell items in beta. You don't have competitive seasons in beta. Like, you don't do those things. You don't sell founders packs for a beta. Like, this is the early access game is not new, right?
No,
we've been dealing with it for a while. It helps a lot of games get developed. I am a huge fan of early access, actually, and I'm such a huge fan of early access that I buy early access games knowing I will not play them, because I know I only want to play the final version of it, but I do want to support the development of that game. I have tons of games that are like that, right? And this is this is just an abuse of that system, which is why I was a little, wary anyway, because this game, it has huge IP license behind it. So it's Warner Brothers, So I'm like, wow, that's kind of big to be in early access. This is not a small game at all. But I'm like, okay, whatever. As long as they keep the game up, it doesn't make a difference, right? But we just had another huge game, within the last year do this. Not the same, not exactly what they're doing, but also go into early access, which is Overwatch 2. Overwatch 2 is in early access right now. But what did they have before early access? They had betas. They had several betas. Were they selling anything during those betas? The answer is no, because they know the beta was going to go up. They were going to get the data that they needed. They were going to do their testing. They're going to bring it down, fix things. The next beta comes up, same process, bring it down, and the game was down before it went into early access. They didn't sell the thing.
So that's kind of like the first block I want to kind of tackle to kind of explain to the listeners just the fundamental difference between those two situations, being a beta and early access. Like what's the key thing? Clearly money is involved here, but there's a purpose between the two. And like you were stating earlier, early access is meant to be you buy in, and that money that you're buying, whether it's, you know, skins, whatever, season pass, or just early, you know, paying a premium, a founders pack or something, that money goes into the funding and development of said game for that studio, right?
Yep.
A beta is in purpose is supposed to be feature ready, or rather, you know, as many features they have ready for those betas, and they're supposed to be pulling data from it. They're supposed to get a lot of analytics and just kind of an idea of what works, things are bugged, you know, fixed, this, that, and the other. You take all that data, you close it down until game is said ready to be at a certain state to then hit that access, right? That early access, or maybe even just, you know, potential final product, right? You know, rarely will it go straight to that, but, you know, those are the key differences is money, right? Multiversus is trying to be both. It's had early access in terms of you can buy in to then get into it, but it's being treated as beta so they could have the ability to close it down completely, just off, you know, whatever online features you will have, because that's what the current state is when they turn it off, when they turn the servers down, it's all your online features are gone. There's no more online play. You can still play in training mode, and you can still have, or the lab, aka training mode, and you can still have offline matches, but all your online features are gone. All the grinding, all the money that you were putting in, maybe you were still developing the battle pass to still unlock, say the level 50, I don't know, fucking like 18th bug skin or something like that. That's no longer available to you. So that money that you already paid them for is just you're not even getting a return from it at that point. So that's like where this is the biggest fuck you possible. It's like you took the money, but then you're still trying to play the route of we're shutting it down with the purpose of it being a beta to then bring it back to actually final product, which is kind of odd because, like, you know, I'm dropping the bomb on you that we're already 2 seasons in. That shit does not compute. That does not make sense.
No, it absolutely does not, and that's like the real, you know, frustrating thing here. Like, nobody bought a founders pack to play Multiversus offline. No one. They bought it to play online and have matchmaking and things of that nature. And now you're taking it offline for 6 months, at least.
6 months, yeah.
At least 6 months. They said early 2024. Guys, that could be Q1 or Q2. Like, you know, of 2024.
Facts.
So yeah, like this is just an abusive system. It's really anti kind of consumer in my opinion. And I'm sure somebody's like, oh, you're crying about nothing. Like, no, this is a big deal because this should not be. You got to make noise.
You can't let it slide.
You got to let them know. You can't just let this slide because other companies will do the same thing.
Exactly.
They will do the same thing, you know.
But
so
once they said that it was going to be closed, I immediately thought, oh man, that means if it's closed, it's in a beta, then they're going to sell it. They're going to try to sell the game. It's not going to be free to play, will it? Like, are you saying, is that what to my mind, is that what you're saying? You're telling me the game's not going to be free to play when you reopen it?
I have a theory as to why this is going on. This is like me trying to connect the dots here. You know, it's no secret with, you know, Warner Brothers over the past however many years at this point, maybe the past 2 years or so, you know, they've been cutting back. There's been cost savings. They're selling pieces off. There was even talks at one point, even NetherRealms was potentially getting, you know, sold off at some point, right? Superhero movies, everything that they're dealing with right now with the DCEU and all that. And, you know, with Multiversus and Player One being one of their studios that they fund, right? That is also Warner Brothers money that's funding it to a degree. Like, I'm wondering if there's pressure coming down on them because the game hasn't, because, you know, the game's also had a very steep drop in player base since I think the highest peak was when LeBron got announced. I think it was like 150,000 concurrent or something like that in the Steam charts from that, and it's only just been a slow decay due to, you can call it whatever the purpose. It could be, the content was content dry for a while, right? The constant bug fixing or hot fixing they have to do for every patch, or ongoing patches that are very, that vary in times, that kind of keep it in such a fluctuation of states in terms of the characters you play and stuff. That kind of is pretty off-putting to people. But also just whatever the issues are with the game just haven't been really addressed yet. And combine that with, like I said, possibly Big Warner coming down and going like, you need to, we're not going to pay for these. If you're not making us money, we're not going to pay for these services. Like maybe they gave them, maybe there's an ultimatum down the line where like, you have 6 months, you have this amount of time to recoup whatever money you need for the, to make this work for you. But, they maybe had to make that decision of like, well, we're early access. Like it's kind of, we can't really do that. And they're kind of put in that position. I'm playing devil's advocate here, trying to see on the other side as to what the hell, because these aren't dumb people, but like,
right.
I'm not gonna say maybe there isn't greedy people. There's definitely some greedy fucks, some greedy suits somewhere in there, at least one. But I'm trying to see it from the other side. It's like, what would cause them to really come to that conclusion that they have to close down, where there are several people like in, this isn't exactly a new fresh off the, green development team. There are some vets in there. So it's like, well, that doesn't fly. That's not what this is. How can you say that those open beta abilities are applicable here when we already early access, already taken however many battle passes to give these skins and these cosmetics out? Like, it just does not, like the equation does not fit for me.
So I was gonna say it could also maybe them not even getting to Evo. Maybe them not getting into Evo.
Maybe that's just another factor. Yeah, maybe
they spent too much money last year at Evo.
We don't really know. I mean, $100,000, that's great, but I mean that's compared to what probably the studio has made. Like, I'm trying to think. I think LeBron might have been free. I could be wrong there. But, even if you look at those early statistics, those numbers as to how many players on, even if you take like 50% of that, like they were making some good money early on. So it's like, where's the discrepancy here? Where was the disconnect that's causing them to, I know they're trying to fix the game. I kind of hence talked about it earlier, where they're constantly putting patches out, this, that, and the other, and they're listening. They're really listening to the community. Maybe my thought is not only are they getting pressure, but maybe they're seeing this as an opportunity to kind of like not wipe the slate clean, not start off like fresh, but rather have the ability to not have to worry about hot fixing things and problems, to putting out fires over here, while they can just focus solely on fixing issues. And they maybe see this as the way out to do that. Just take it offline.
So I would probably say, I mean, it's definitely probably like a staffing issue. Like they want to take all of their staff that they have available and put it on, the next update that they have coming out.
Exactly.
That's what they're looking to do. So
big opening update, some big patch.
I can understand that. I can understand if you don't have enough staff, that you can have a staff running the live game and then also a staff working on the next version of it. I do understand that, but that should have been taken into consideration before you made this game early access. There should have been a plan in place that they're like, this is our live team, this is our dev team. So many other games have done it, and usually they get shit on while they're doing it, but people kind of appreciate the effort after the fact. That happened in the original Destiny when the last expansion came out. I mean, it wasn't great at all. That's the nicest thing I could say about it. Okay. And they had a live team trying their best to keep the community moving and happy, and people weren't 100% happy. But when Destiny 2 came out, which also had its problems, things generally got better. Overwatch is the same thing. They've had a live team for the last, is it 2023 now? What year is it? It's crazy. But for the last 3-4 years, and then they've had a dev team working on Overwatch 2. So there's companies that do this. I would think this would just kind of be part of their process, and this is by them accepting money from players the way they have. Normally I say devs don't owe players anything. Publishers don't owe players. That's usually a stance that I have. But the thing is, they do owe them because the players paid. They paid.
Yep. There was a transaction made.
There were transactions, made. And it's not like they said, we might take this down and don't get me wrong, it's probably somewhere in the TOS, in the terms of service. Oh, it has to be. Because if they decide to turn the servers off because they're not making enough money, they can do that. So don't get me wrong, I know it's in a TOS somewhere, but they were not transparent about the fact that we possibly might go dark for a few weeks, a few months. They weren't transparent about that. So when people were putting money into this game, they expected the game to be available enough. And I don't care if somebody bought a founders pack and play they played the game once. If they decided on June 26th that they wanted to play the game, they should be able to play the game because that was the expectation. And I did some these are not in stone, these are just estimates, but it's estimated that the game has made about $12 million at this point in founders packs and skins and things of that nature. So the $100,000 that they spent on Evo, they got it. It's fine.
That was an investment. That was $100,000 to put in to get that $12 million to put it in front of everybody and do this and do that. That's fine. They made that money back and then some. So yeah, that I don't think would be a full factor. I don't think it was going to be a factor because it was so early. Like those problems didn't start occurring until after Evo, to be honest. So timeline, makes sense. But yeah, people are not happy. They are getting freaking just review bombed right now. Currently, it went from it being a positive game to now mixed on all recents. Everything is just pertaining to having the idea that you've made all this money, you've kept coming out with things, stating all this battle pass bundles, and then calling it a beta was just a slap in the face. So yeah, people are not happy. I think honestly, a part of me feels like I think they needed to do something. And sure, could have been done absolutely better. Yes, for sure. Honestly, they could have just been transparent. I think that's the key thing. They could have just been like, listen, y'all, we've been very, because they have no problems being transparent on Twitter. And, the Tony, the games director and such, is very active on social media. We'll comment on things. We'll talk to people just because they tag them on it and even tell them, before, almost like news beforehand, like, oh yeah, we got a patch coming out for that. Like, it's in the patch, don't worry. And then we'll hear about a patch maybe the next day. Like, why not be that transparent here? It's fine. Like, I don't think that would have... The blowback from this is way worse than just if you would have just came out and been like, listen, we want to fix the game. We've tried everything. We've come to the conclusion. We need to put it offline for 6 months. Maybe give it a reward afterwards, right? You got 6 months. You might as well do something. Fuck it. Give the first 2 battle pass. It kind of sucks saying, like, maybe make the battle passes free, or those that have an account from this date earlier, which they stated already, like I think April 4th, if you have an account and such, if you have the game before April 4th, which I believe April 4th is like when you're not going to start being able to grab it. That's like a date in my mind.
You won't be able to download it anymore.
You won't be able to download it anymore. So you need to have it before April 4th in order for you to even enjoy those offline. If you're a TO, bro, you better get all those accounts ready and download it and just have it. Just because if you haven't used it for that account, download it because now you're talking. You're killing ecosystems that thrived on offline. Like, sure, it was built as an online game, but you're getting rid of that. you're getting rid of that. So you're basically shooting your not, I can't even say your foot. It's like your whole half of your body's gone because of this decision. You need to ensure that the other half can at least sustain itself somehow with the and what I'm talking about is offline. Like, come April 4th, that's it. Like, you're gonna see just dwindling numbers of offline tournaments, which they're already rare as it is. Like, you're just stunting the growth completely from your game, and you're expecting to come back in 6 months that people aren't gonna forget that you took their money and left. Like, that's just, you could have just been transparent about it and maybe worked on some sort of middle ground. Like, yes, the offline, if they're gonna go out, it's also kind of tough because games as a service like this where they need the servers on, like it's tough because you're at the whim of it. And guess what? It's not like much you can do because guaranteed there's some clause somewhere in there in the user agreement about that. Oh, yeah. So it's like they're covered.
Absolutely.
You don't have a case here. You're not going to be able to take this to court. It's like, no, you signed up for this. That's in that EULA right there. The end user license
agreement. or TOS, terms of service,
or TOS. Exactly. It's all in there. So like I'm just like wondering why they just could not be as transparent as they have been in the past. Even earlier, like, yes, it's right there on their Twitter banner, man. You can't miss it. Season 2, right there.
I just don't see how they think this helps. Like, it's definitely just from a public perception. Like, it just definitely hurts more than it helps. I mean, it would have been better. They would have been better off with it just being like, kind of quiet for a little bit, and then next February they come out, oh, huge update. This changes everything. Yep. And the thing is, they already have the install base. And they get people excited. But now what happens? Especially, we don't know if the full version is actually coming out when they do this. Did they say that when they come back, it's going to be the full version of the game? Because I don't think so. Like,
I don't know
if it comes back in their so-called open beta state, that's going to stop people from spending money on it because they don't know when the next time the game might go down. Like, why would you spend money on that, So I just read something too that Multiversus outsold Elden Ring in August. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I understand at that point that Elden Ring was a couple months old, but Elden Ring was massive last year.
One game of the year. Multiversus won, I think, fighting game of the year too. KOF 15 got snubbed. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, I don't. This is just a bad move, and it's anti-consumer. It's going to leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth, which was already, clearly they were already struggling because the player count had gone down. But all you need is the right update, the right character to come out, and generate the right kind of buzz here. And it could have been something different, right? It could have just been like, okay, let's put more money into running competitive events and stuff like that, and get people, get the right people in front of it. Because that happened to a bunch of games have done that in the past to help bolster their numbers. So this is just not a good look.
Yeah, it was a terrible misstep that's going to end up having their shins just blow up into the moon. Basically, that's how bad it was. But we're just gonna have to wait and see. The fall, like, chances are we're gonna get an update post this day. This is ground zero, day zero, within 8 hours of that announcement. So we're expecting to hear something probably post this. I still have my inklings. Like I said, I think this is definitely coming from a top-down perspective as well as coming from a little bit higher up. I think it's a little forced, because I just find it really difficult for people that, it's fighting games. People are, they're passionate. They know about the community. They want to make, especially the people that work on it, they want to do right by the community. It's kind of just engraved in them, and it goes as far in as the developers as well. And to see this, happen the way that it did, it just does not vibe correctly. It just seems out of character for what they've established themselves over, however long this game's now been out, right? I think it's like 2 years or something, a year, a little over a year.
Remember the beta started the first beta was a little bit like May of last year.
Okay. Right. Yeah. So that sounds about right.
So like a year and some change, basically, we're going to be getting to. And it just throws me off. So I feel like there's definitely more to it. Obviously, there's obviously more to it. We're not the developers. We don't know. We're only speculating, but we're kind of putting the pieces together. But all that we know is that it was just not right. The right step to hit there. This ain't it, Chief. This ain't it, Chief. It is what it is, but we'll just have to find out how it develops. In the meantime, I mean, what do you guys think about this, about the situation with Multiversus? I know some of you guys have already talked about it on the Discord. You're happy you didn't get swindled. You didn't jump into the Founders Pack. Others, like myself, that have put in hundreds of hours or more are now going to have to deal with that factor that, online support is going to be going away. That means tournament circuits and support for the game, and maybe that was your path. It's not going to be a thing. All the online ranking monsters that are like, yes, I'm number one, whatever, posting up on Reddit, those Reddits are going to just be barren. But maybe, who knows, maybe a phoenix will come from the ashes of this situation. Well, you're going to have to find out in 6 months. Until then,
they'd have to have Apple level marketing genius to pull this off, because we already know that the game was kind of on the decline because of the user base, but you completely shut it off. You completely go dark, And you know how hard it is to generate hype for a game in an environment where everything's live service, everything's free to play. If your game is Multiversus and it's like, you know, a party game. I was gonna say a fighting game, but I don't want to get punched in the face next time I go to a tournament. So, but you know, it's a party game, and you're not just competing against other. Like, Multiversus isn't competing against just Smash. Multiversus is competing against Call of Duty, Apex Legends, League of Legends. You're competing for people's time at that point. And in this time, like, nobody's gonna be like, oh man, Multiversus is down, I don't have any games. No, like, they're gonna get involved in other games, and they're gonna, like, you know, and a lot of these, well, actually for fighting games it feels a little different. Like, since they're solo experiences, you have a better chance of recovery. Yeah. But a lot of these games rely on people in their friend groups to continue to play and come back and you know, stuff like that. So yeah, like, it's gonna be tough to regenerate hype on a game that was here, had a decline already, and then shut down. Not released updates to boost people wanting to play the game again, but straight up shut down. Like, that's gonna be really tough, man.
They got to come out with some crazy sponsor. Hit him with the Static Gorilla special. Like, hey, Chipotle sponsoring. Everybody gets a free burrito when you download. I'm in. I'm there. Let's go. I'll pick those sticks up so fast. Yeah, let me get the new chicken. Let me get the new chicken. Oh yeah, they got to come back swinging. But in the meantime, we're just gonna have to wait and see. If you guys want to check out the other details, of course, they posted up on their official site the open beta update, as well as an FAQ with all the, you know, frequently asked questions. There's your tip for the day, in case you didn't know that's what that stood for. Right below, everything from what's gonna happen to my cosmetics, the Gleamium, the in-game currency, the battle passes, they extended until, you know, this time next year. Like, what's the situation? Go check it out. Go see, you know, what their answers are there for. Go check out the subreddits as well, as, you know, our Multiversus. You know, it's crazy conversations going on there. Keep up with it. You know, stay informed. It's the best you could do, especially if you have put in your money. If you've given them their money for those, you know, season 1 pass, season 2 founders, whatever it may be, you are entitled to know the situation there, because there's been a transaction. You know, you need to get your answers. You got to stay on them. Can't let this shit slide. More to the sword. You cannot let this shit slide. You have to make noise.
Yeah, I would say definitely keep it respectful. But at the same, you do need to make noise. You do need to, like, let them know exactly how disappointed you are in them, but just like, don't do something stupid. Don't threaten them. Keep it respectful. A lot of the people over at first, like, you know, you don't even know who's making these decisions.
Exactly.
The developer really could have been like, oh no, we need to keep the game up, and then somebody above them, well, the person with the money on tap is like, no, we need to, you know, you need to do something else. We don't know what the situation is, but if you voice your opinion, the people who are, you know, dealing the money and making the money will find out if you make enough noise. Just don't be a dick about it. Like, you can definitely make noise, you can definitely complain, but you could do it without being disrespectful and threatening somebody's life. That's not going to work. What you need to make them understand is that it will affect their pockets. That's Facts. What you need to make them understand.
Hit them where it hurts. The money.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what you need to get across, respectfully.
Absolutely.
All they're asking is transparency, man.
Yeah, it's not that hard, but, you know, it is what it is. It's the cutthroat business. But with that, guys, that's gonna wrap up the Focus Attack. Like I said, guys, let us know what you guys think about it. I guess you can call this pseudo community question on your thoughts on it. Let us know. Join us on mash.gg/Discord. Join the Discord there. Get some discussion going on there, or just hit us up on Twitter at DoubleTapFGC. But with that, we're gonna let Ja go. We're gonna continue closing up this show. Ja, once again, as usual, thank you very much for hanging out with us. Always a pleasure to have you on. The OG, Triple OG himself, making all this happen. We appreciate you.
Like I said, I'm always glad to come. Hopefully next time, like, it's some happy shit. You know?
Yeah. No, we just keep you specifically in the misery pile just because we just need to let loose. That's the only reason we're bringing you on. That's all it is. But no, appreciate you once again. Like I said, guys, stay tuned. We're gonna be closing out the show, but until then, we're gonna be separating off. We're gonna let Ja just go out and chill and do all the million other things he does in the background for us. Appreciate you.
Thank you.